Abraham Lincoln once said, "Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition." This statement by Abe is telling people to make a difference in the world or people's lives to gain positive recognition. Today I'd like to share with you some of the accolades that Abraham Lincoln was a part of during his presidency of the United States. Abraham Lincoln was a very influential man, and many of his accomplishments are still recognized today. Abe's determination and confidence have helped me strive for recognition. Lincoln has taught me to strive for greatness, have confidence, and never give up while trying to attain a goal. To understand the impact that Abraham Lincoln had as the President of the United States, let's take a look at three of the things he's known for while he was President. Number one, abolishing slavery and the 13th Amendment. Number two, how he was a leader for the Union during the Civil War. And number three, his delivering of the Gettysburg Address, which is one of the most iconic and influential speeches in American history. During Lincoln's road to presidency, he was faced with a lot of opposition because of his views on slavery, as he was known to be anti-slavery. His political rival was Stephen Douglas, who represented the Northern Democrats. When Lincoln was elected as the 16th President of the United States, 7 states had seceded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. Abe only received about 40% of the popular vote because the whole nation was divided on their views on slavery. Now that Abe was in office, he felt it was time to preserve the Union, which was slowly starting to fall apart as states started seceding. Lincoln ordered Union ships to supply Fort Sumter. It was there where the Confederates fired on the Union's fleet, thus starting the Civil War. The Civil War was a war between the Northern Union and the Southern Confederate States of America. Abe built up an army of over 3 million troops compared to the 2 million troops that the South had. The war started as a war to preserve the Union, but turned into a war to end slavery and gain back the country's unity. According to CivilWar.org, the Civil War amassed over 620,000 casualties, which makes it the bloodiest battle in American history. Lincoln was instrumental to the Union during the Civil War. Now that I have talked about Lincoln's role during the Civil War, I'm going to talk about the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment, which helped to abolish slavery. I asked my audience if they knew what the Emancipation Proclamation was. One student said that they were from Canada, so they did not know anything about Abraham Lincoln, and they did not know what the Emancipation Proclamation was. Another student said that the Emancipation Proclamation was a document that helped end slavery, which is partially correct. I also asked if they thought Lincoln's peers thought he was a hero or seen him as an enemy after he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. The students' responses indicated that they thought it depended on what that person's view of slavery was. If they were anti-slavery, they thought of him as a hero. If they were not anti-slavery, they viewed him as an enemy. The Emancipation Proclamation was issued on September 22, 1862. It stated that if the southern states that had seceded did not stop their rebellion, that the slaves that in the states that were rebelling would be freed. The Confederacy did not stop their rebellion by the specified date, so the proclamation went into effect, thus freeing all slaves that were in southern states that were seceding. Lincoln wanted to sign the proclamation not only to free the slaves, but also to cripple the Confederacy's use of slaves during the war. Slaves that were freed were allowed to fight in the North. Slaves were given guns and weapons to fight the South. Abe knew that the proclamation would eventually need a constitutional amendment to make it formal, which is what I'm going to talk about next. The 13th Amendment is the constitutional amendment that formally abolished slavery. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime whereof that party shall be duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdictions. This was stating that all slaves were to be freed. It was also stating that slavery was now seen as unconstitutional, unless they were being punished for a crime. The amendment passed the House of Representatives with a 119 to 56 vote. Now that I've talked about the abolition of slavery, I will move on to the Gettysburg Address. The Gettysburg Address was one of the most iconic and influential speeches in American history. It started as such. 7 years ago, our forefathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. This was reminding people the vision of our forefathers that all men are created equal and are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Gettysburg Address was also honoring the soldiers that died in the Battle of Gettysburg between July 1st and July 3rd in 1863. The Gettysburg Address will always be remembered as one of the most iconic and influential speeches in American history. The original copy of the speech is still on display in the Lincoln Room in the White House. Lincoln had many different things that made him a well-known individual throughout the United States. Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery by signing the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment. He was instrumental to the Union during the Civil War, and he delivered the Gettysburg Address, which is one of the most iconic speeches in American history. Lincoln once stated, "Always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. If people can motivate themselves to succeed and have a goal in mind, their goal is more important than any other goal."